Hi guys, it's Ellie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you all the books that I read last month, which is in the month of August. And I did read a freaking hell lot of books. So without any further ado, let's get into this video so that we can make it as short as possible. Note that I'm not going to give you any sort of spoilers. So yeah, I hope you like today's video. Now, the first book that I finished reading in the month of August was The Penelope. This book is by Margaret Atwood. This book is about Penelope, who was the wife of Odysseus, and it is basically her tale and also the tale of the 12 maids who helped her during the time when Odysseus was not in his kingdom. It is a beautifully weaved story, and I'm sure that if you're into mythology, yes, I said mythology and not mythology this time because I have corrected my pronunciation. You will love this book called Penelope and you should get it right now. The next book that I'm going to recommend is also a mythology, but this is Indian mythology. This is Chronicles of the Mortal Vishnu by Atreya. This book was really good. Like whatever I had expected from it, I did get it. This book is a tale which starts with a theory of the origin of gods and the creation of the universe, and then it portrays how an amazing character can turn into an antagonist, which is probably one of the greatest parts about this book. I really was interested in knowing how they sort of portray it. This antagonist creates the Daitya clan, which is something that you should be very familiar with if you read Indian mythology. But if not, this book is very well written, so I don't think that will be any sort of problem for you. He's challenged by two Maharathis. There are obviously many more characters, mythological characters, that is in this book. So this is like a fully packed book which I'm sure that you're going to enjoy very much if you are into mythology. I'll highly recommend it. I was more inclined to read it because I had read some great reviews about this book, of which I agree the most with the Deccan Chronicle, because the language is so beautiful that it does seem like this is a graphic imagery. And I would like to thank the author for sponsoring today's video and for sending me this book, because it was really great. After Kalki, if I have liked a mythology book very much in Indian mythology genre, this will be that book, and I'll highly recommend it to you. And a lot of my subscribers have actually bought and read this book and told me that they really liked it. So if you haven't already, just go check it out, and I hope that you like it as well. Next book that I read was a book on Storytel. By the way, last month I actually read a lot of books on Storytel and on my Kindle. My Storytel link is in the description below, storytel.com/Ellie, to get a 30-day free trial. And Kindle Unlimited also has a 30-day free trial, but I don't have any code for it. It's just free, like 30 days. But Kindle Unlimited doesn't have a big collection. So there are a few that I'm going to recommend today. So I hope that you can take them into account. But otherwise, I think Storytel was the one where I got the most wide variety. But coming back, this book called At Home with Madam Chic is about being chic and fashionable and, living a better life. I think women are more inclined to like this book, but men, you can try it out as well. Basically, it was very cool to read that book, but I did feel that somehow it got very traditional, like all that makeup and all that. There are parts of it that I did not like, but overall I will recommend it. This book is not available in the audiobook but in the ebook format on Storytel, and which is why I really skimmed through it. But overall I've got what the book wanted to say, and yeah, it was good but not that good. The author also has a YouTube channel, but I didn't like the YouTube channel as well. Next two books are spiritual books which I loved on Storytel. Number one will be Zen, The Art of Simple Living. Number two will be Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Both of them were great spiritual books. If you're looking for spiritual recommendations, I already made a video where I have also recommended these books. But these were the two which I read last month, and yes, I highly recommend them. They changed my life, I'll say. The next book is Peter Heining's A Pictorial History of Horror. You can get access to this book at archive.org for free, because this book is very rare. It was published a long time ago, and it's so good that it's very costly. I browsed it, and it's only on amazon.com and for several dollars. So it's not beyond the question of buying it, but you can get access to this book at archive.org, Pictorial History of Horror. This book outlines, the pictorial history of horror writing, conception of the horror genre, how it started getting published in England in the beginning. This anthology, or not really anthology, but something like a magazine called Weird Tales, where the greatest of horror writers started writing initially. Basically, it's a brilliant pictorial history, and the images are too good. I'll leave a few of the images here, and I'm sure you're gonna like them. So yeah, let me know if any of you actually picked up this book on archive.org. Next book that I finished reading was Technically I Love You by Piyush Gupta. This was a so-so book. I think if you are into reading pop fiction, you will like this book, but since I am not that into pop fiction anymore, I did not like it as much. But definitely a good book for a debut author. The next book that I'll recommend is Milk Teeth by Amrita Mahale. What a brilliant book. I can't even tell you how good it was because it's beyond words. This book was on Kindle Unlimited and I got to read it at a 30-day free trial. Milk Teeth is set in 90s Mumbai and it has a great plot twist which I absolutely hated. So make sure you read this book. Next book I read was The Woman in Dark by Vanessa Savage. It was a good book definitely, but since I have higher expectations from psychological thriller, I was not that impressed, but it was good, definitely good. The best part about this book is the suspense built around a murder house, which is the only reason I finished reading this book because it was the best part about this book. The psychological thrill was not that much. Next book was Happy Fruit Adventures by Hariram Narayan. This book is an allegorical tale about life and both adults and children might enjoy it. So no matter what your preference is, I think you might give this a try. Another book that I read on Storytel was a book by Shirley Jackson called Witchcraft of Salem Village, which outlines the history of the Salem witch trials. If you're not aware of it, several women were tried as, and also men were tried as witches capable of doing dark magic. Usually they used to target people who were loners or outcasts, which is really unfair. I didn't really know that Shirley Jackson has written such a book, and this was as well written as any of her other books, but this is definitely non-fiction. The next book that I'll recommend is Islam, A Graphic History. There is this collection of brilliant graphic guides on Kindle Unlimited. Some of them you can't really see on the Kindle, maybe because of the size of it, but most of it was great. The Islam book was really, it was good. I could read whatever was the graphics, but there are some books like on feminism, the font is so small that you can't really read it. But Islam was great. I got a good idea about Islam, the origins and the history of it. But there is something that I did not understand, and I hope that my Muslim friends will help me out here. Why is it that you can't show the face of Muhammad on in drawings? I can guess there's a reason, but there was nothing written properly inside that book. So please, if you can help your girl out here. I love exploring new religions, and this graphic guide helped me a lot in doing that. Also, it's really well made. I think everyone can read it and understand what it's trying to say. This book sort of built all of it down into a very concise and well written history. I almost forgot to tell you that I finished reading Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows at the beginning of this month. So check out my vlog if you haven't already. The next book is Subarna Roy's How I Became a Tree. This book is about a woman who resonates highly with trees and how the values of trees are something that she wants to imbibe. But this is also very well researched. It almost reads like a scholarly paper after a few chapters, and I loved the entirety of this book. This book is also from Kindle Unlimited. Next book was a library book that I read. It's called Her Stories. It's available for about 150 or 180 rupees on Amazon. I highly recommend it. It's a collection of translated Bengali short stories from some of the best Bengali women writers. And if you read this book, you'll understand why the position of women has, sometimes it feels like it has hardly changed in the past 20 years. There was this great book called Lost in Translation, which is a graphic novel sort of a book which highlights some of the words that there are no alternatives for. I have written them all down in my notebook so that I remember them. Some of my favorites were Pisang Zapra, which is a Malaysian word for the time taken to eat a banana. Then there is this word, Japanese word called boketo, which is staring at the distance for a long time without thinking or knowing what is happening. Then there is this word called Meraki, which is sort of more popular than the other words. But there are some really, really rare words which I would have never known about. hadn't I read this book, and it was really, really good. The next book was Aiya KO by Osamu Tezuka. Those of you who read manga, there's no way you're not acquainted with this book. I'm sure this is one of the best graphic novels and novels that I've ever read. It's sort of a political narrative, but in a sort of a personalized setting. And that is what I like the most about this book. I don't think that after reading this book, your thoughts, your mental peace will stay with you. But that's exactly why I recommend you guys to read this book. The next book is sort of an audiobook, which is a short story, and it is The Body Snatcher by R.L. Stevenson. It is really scary. I'm sure you guys know that in medical colleges there are bodies which are in demand. So there are these people or grave diggers who dig out graves and bring out the skeletons to sell to the medical hospitals. And this is about two such people, but it goes really wrong. It's a brilliant horror story, and you will be creeped out when you listen to this book. I read two plays. Number one was Candida by George Bernard Shaw. I really loved the ending of Candida. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I really liked the choice that Candida makes. It was very unconventional, and it was definitely not something that I expected. And then there is An Ideal Husband. I really enjoyed it. This is a play by Oscar Wilde, and I like Oscar Wilde so much. I did feel that Oscar Wilde has written better plays than this, but it was recommended to me by my teacher, so that's exactly why I read it. Last book that I like to mention is Scrapbook of an Unfound Songstress. This book was sent to me for review by Vicky Nolan. This book is about a girl who wants to be a singer, but everything goes haywire. This is a perfect recommendation for teens, and most of the books that I recommended in today's video, I have recommended them sometime or the other in the videos of past months. So if you have not seen those videos already, go and check them out. I hope you had a great reading month in August as well. As per my count, I think I have read about 21 books in the month of August, and I think that's a good amount, right? Links to buy all these books are in the description below. The link to free trial of Storytel is also in the description below. Make sure you make use of them. Make sure you buy the books that interest you the most. Once again, I'd like to thank the author Antar Atreya for sponsoring today's video. I will be back with another video next week. Till then, bye bye.